Rodgers has agreed to a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers after months of uncertainty about his future. According to Adam Schefter, Mike Tomlin was a major factor as to why Rodgers ended up in Pittsburgh. The head coach, a big draw for the future Hall of Famer, and he was happy to work within Rodgers' timeline. Bringing in someone who won a ring with the Steelers. That would be Ryan Clark, and a lifelong Steelers fan. That would be Stephen A. Smith. Hi, guys. Stephen A., tell me this. Does Aaron Rodgers or Mike Tomlin have more at stake this season?
For me personally, I think it's Mike Tomlin because I think the die has been cast on Aaron Rodgers. We know, RC has made sure we know that Aaron Rodgers is not what he used to be, that he's no longer that MVP caliber player, that the violins bring him out, the swan song is near. You know, we'll be writing his football epitaph sometime shortly. Ryan Clark has done a very, very skillful, astute job of highlighting those facts. He's not wrong. But when we look at Mike Tomlin, we say he's great. All of us feel he's great. We know how motivational and inspirational he is. I personally love the man. I've known him for years. RC has a much closer relationship with him. We know what this man has done, and in 18 years, he's never had a losing season. You just sit up there and you marvel at some of the things, because there were years we thought that the Steelers would nosedive, and he never let it happen. The man is a special man, and the man is a special coach. But we have to look at the stats in this regard. The Steelers have not won a playoff game since 2016. Not one playoff game. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 9 years. For a franchise that is associated with championships, 6 to count them, okay? That's what they're associated with. And when you haven't won a playoff game in 9 years, and when you've seen one franchise after another find a quarterback, but yet you're incapable of doing so, that's problematic. And so even though Aaron Rodgers is no savior, in the same breath, if you let Russell Wilson and Justin Fields walk out the door, Aaron Rodgers had damn well better be better than what they were. They got you to the playoffs. Justin Fields won games for you early. Russell Wilson won games for you midway through the season. They nosedived the last 5 games of the season, and then they lost in the playoffs, so that's 6 consecutive losses. You look at all of those things, and you say, wait a minute, that's not something that can happen again. And so I think that we'll be looking at Mike Tomlin differently if this Pittsburgh Steelers team is, dare we say, even worse than we thought. That cannot happen. Yeah. And he still has the same allure and the same stature that he once had.
You know, Stephen A. is one of those people that when he loves you, he'll still set you up, right? So he set me up before I started talking to say all the things I said about Aaron Rodgers' career coming to its end. But that part is true. Aaron Rodgers' legacy is also secure, right? He's one of the best quarterbacks that have ever played this game. Physically, in the top 2 throwers of the football, if not just number 1 alone, with Patrick Mahomes that I've ever seen, that I've ever played against. And so I think who Aaron Rodgers is and what we believe him to be has been sealed. It's not that way with Mike Tomlin. And before I get into it, and I try to be quicker, is that I legitimately love Mike Tomlin. Not a mythical love, not a metaphorical love looking from the outside in. He is truly my friend. He's my brother. And even with that, I could say something has to change. Mike Tomlin has to find a way for this team to compete in the playoffs. And when you bring Aaron Rodgers in, when you wait on him, when you have the conversation, as long as you're here by minicamp, you're saying you believe he's someone that could take you to the next level. So now we have, in my opinion, one of the greatest coaches of this era, one of the greatest quarterbacks to have ever played, no matter how diminished he is, and a team you felt like you've built up to compete. Well, they got to compete. They can't just be meandering around getting into the wild card. They can't just be comfortable with being blown out in the first round of the playoffs and being home and looking for their quarterback of the future. I said it on this show. I don't believe Mike Tomlin is fireable. But I also know that any other team, any other coach that has been as non-competitive as the Pittsburgh Steelers have been in the playoffs, they're looking for a change. I don't believe that Tibbs should have been fired. But let's think about this. He got the New York Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. He has had or built more excitement around that team than there has been in decades. And yet, they thought they could do better. If you're Mike Tomlin, if you're Omar Khan, if you're Art Rooney Jr., when do you feel like you could do better? They got to win something this year. They have to show promise this year. And if they don't, there is an uncomfortable conversation that we're going to have in the media and that they're going to have in their building. And that is enough, and has he made us as great as he could possibly make us?
The only thing that I'll add to that is this. The fans in Pittsburgh are there. And that needs to be said. What you're talking about, what you're articulating in terms of what we have to do because of our affinity and respect, profound respect for Mike Tomlin, because we know how hard it is to do, or not know how you know how hard it is, but we can speculate about how hard it is for him to do what they do. The fans are the fans, and there's a standard in the Steel City that has not been met for quite a long time. They're already having that conversation, and that's the reality of the Mike Tomlin situation right now.
All right, as far as Aaron Rodgers will face his two former teams, the Jets and Packers, week 1 and week 8.
They get paid to do it, and I do it. So, but whatever. The point is, the numbers, and Graziano, you were right.
I know.
All of the numbers suggest that Rodgers was a well below average quarterback last year. Every number, every advanced metric, everything. And yet watching it, I can tell you that there were at least moments when it didn't look that way. And that was a team, let's just face it, that was poorly put together and incompetently coached. If you now put, RC, what I'm presenting you with is the fact that you have a team that has some idea what it's doing. They may not be ridiculously talented, but they have some idea what they're doing, and they have an excellent coach. I believe Rodgers is going to play well. Exactly how well, I don't know, but I believe he is going to play well.
I love the film y'all pull, too. I love the film. I love the film y'all pull. That's like last-second desperation trying to win the game early in the season. He wasn't on the red line. See, I know the context. See, all these throws, I know the context of what was going on.
Well, that was a good one.
You guys don't.
We're seeing good ones here. These are touchdowns. Go ahead, RC, go.
Bart, everybody knows the context of the red line because everybody knows that Aaron Rodgers went to the post-game interview and he threw his wide receiver under the bus. You don't have to watch every snap, which also, I don't work for the Jets. I watch every snap too, Bart. That is not a flex. We've all seen it. You can go to the end of the season. You can think about
every
Jacksonville.
Snap. You watch
can think about Miami, the way that he threw the ball against those two teams. And you feel good about it. But that's not what we saw the entire season. And so we can't sit here on TV and say that he's the Aaron Rodgers of old, or that he was even the Aaron Rodgers that left Green Bay to go to New York. You're not getting the 4-time MVP. And even as much as we can say about the New York Jets and how they were constructed, they also had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. You don't have that with the Pittsburgh Steelers. George Pickens is gone.
So all these things are right. The point is, there's a variety of ways of looking at this also. So let me make an analogy here, okay? I have Jet fans walk up to me in the street every single day, and they're Justin Fields. I'm not excited about Justin Fields. You know what my answer is? I've looked into it. Josh Allen was not available. You can only choose amongst the options that are presented to you. Of the options the Steelers had from the moment Matthew Stafford didn't come there, to me, this is overwhelmingly the best they could do.
You were at the draft. You saw, like, almost no one get picked high at the quarterback position, right? This was not a good year to need a quarterback.
Right.
So I don't fault the Steelers for going this way. What I do want to say is I don't think this solves their problem. Their problem being they can't get to the second round of the playoffs, right? So they will not be the team that the Steelers expect to be, or that Steelers fans expect to be, until they solve their quarterback problem. And RC was talking about this in the last segment. We were talking. They haven't done that. This is a Band-Aid. This maybe gets you through this year. Maybe, by the way, he's 41. So, like, there's no guarantee he's going to play 17 games. So, yes, to your point, yes, it's the best they could do, but it's not necessarily any kind of fix.
I lived this exact same scenario in 2006.
Right.
Understand, Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I was coming from Kyle Bowler. when you have played with Kyle Bowler and you get a quarterback that is like Aaron Rodgers or just above, it is like a revelation as a defensive player saying that we have a guy that's not going to turn the ball over. Even in his worst year, he had 11 interceptions this year. He's going to take care of the ball. They're going to run the ball, play great defense. But he has the football acumen to get us in the right play and just make 1 or 2 plays a game is all I need him to make. And just make sure that he don't crash the car into the Hudson.
This is the same stuff you were saying when he went to the Jets.
But the Jets didn't have that type of team. Was the Jets?
I was told otherwise
When he went
by
to the
people
Jets,
at this desk.
When he went to the Jets, was that a 10-win team? Was that a playoff team?
I thought it was.
Was that a very well-coached team?
No, it definitely wasn't
all that was up in the air. This is a different situation.
RC, because this is gonna, we're gonna.
I've been here. So you can say whatever you want.
RC, how good are the Steelers around him? There's been a lot of debate about that. Like, to me, they were a playoff team last year with below average quarterback play, although the numbers would suggest it was right around average quarterback play, but whatever. There's a lot of names you know.
Aaron Rodgers.
How good are the Steelers around Aaron Rodgers?
The Steelers are good enough to be a playoff team. The Steelers are good enough to be a playoff contender. The Steelers are good enough to be what the Steelers have become now. They're good enough to go 9-8. They're good enough to go 10-7, win some games that maybe you don't expect them to win, also lose some games you don't expect them to lose. They're good enough to be sitting at home after the wild card weekend. That's exactly what this team is. And I hate that Bart is so far on the side of Aaron Rodgers is going to win this team a Super Bowl that you have to feel negative in order to have a conversation with him.
Listen, I
believe that Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade in the quarterback room over Mason Rudolph. I believe that.
I want no good things for the Steelers. Please believe
and you know what?
I do.
It makes sense that you hate him because now you're trying to build the Steeler fans up into thinking he's something he's not. Into thinking that Aaron Rodgers is going to do something for the Pittsburgh Steelers that he's not. And then when he walks out of there, they still don't have a quarterback.
Let me get Bart. How good can they be? What can this team do?
I think they can be a scary team when they get to the playoffs. I think they can win a playoff game. I'm not worried with them going to have to play Houston. You think they're worried about Houston? I don't think they're worried about those type of teams. They're going to play a wild card maybe, but they can win it. Hell, come on, man. I won wild card games with Mark Sanchez, rookie quarterback. You telling me Aaron Rodgers can't go in there and beat C.J. Stroud?
When the playoffs start, he will be 42.
I don't care how old
What do you mean you don't care? 42 is too old. Like, it's not. He's not going to be what you expect him to be.
Almost